You can also actually observe changes sometimes in the ear formation itself. Not every time, but sometimes people will come to you. For example, the curve of the ear is maybe a little bit more like this, right? And if this is the C-spine, then you know that there's a very chronic C-spine issue there. If you're able to then make progress on that C-spine, then you might see the curve actually come back to normal again. A fun thing that to do is, if you notice an ear that has a strange formation like that, is to take a photograph of it, put it in that patient's file, and then 5 or 6 treatments later, take another photograph. Okay? And then you can compare and see. But what that shows us is that the ear is actually projecting a current and dynamic readout. Current because it is only telling you what is happening this very moment with the brain. Okay? And dynamic as in it's always changing. Right? So this is why sometimes I hesitate about the idea of treating one point with a permanent needle for migraine, and then that's the point. Partly because it can be so complex. There could be a lot of layers to why that person has a migraine, and the ear map is dynamic, right? It's changing. So you treat this one point that's maybe extremely effective, and then perhaps that unravels layers that allow you to then go deeper and to say, okay, now this point is showing you what's next. It's really important that you understand the difference between this and protocol-based. The NADA protocol is another one in the battlefield as well. Battlefield, for example, has been in the hospitals, and it's been very effective because it's easy to train a lot of people to treat these 5 points because they're not even really looking for activity, right? They're just treating the 5 points next, treating the 5 points next. And so you can treat a lot of people really quickly, and you can train a lot of people very quickly and easily to do it, okay? So in that way, these protocol-based approaches are really helpful for a certain context. What we're doing here is for a different context, okay? It's for a clinical context that is focused on finding the reason why people are not healing. And so you're able to go a little bit deeper with this. The approach here is a little bit different than what we might be used to. A lot of us in all kinds of modalities are used to deciding on what to do based on symptoms and then applying that treatment. But we're going to change our thinking a little bit with this. And what we're going to start doing is we're going to start actually just quieting our own logical processes a little bit, not completely, but a little bit, and allowing the information from the nervous system of the patient to come through to us based on the active points that we find. What we're doing is we are searching for points, we're asking specific questions, and then we're trusting the information that the ear gives us. And we're going to trust that what we're finding is actually the problem or the priority. Like I said before, the patient might have forgotten to tell you a lot of things. They might have trauma that they have no idea about. They might have things that were so traumatic that they completely blocked them from the memory. And if that's the case, none of that's going to be on the intake form. So if you're searching and you find a shoulder point on somebody, they didn't mention anything about their shoulder's not in pain, and you ask them about their shoulder, and they say, no, nothing. I can't remember anything that happened with my shoulder. And then you can kind of say, okay, that's suspicious that it came up as such a strong point. And then you might start thinking, well, that might be a priority actually. Even though the patient's telling you nothing about the shoulder, there's no dysfunction physically currently going on. If the patient says, no, there's nothing going on with my shoulder, they're kind of a little bit like subconsciously defensive about it, then you especially want to treat the shoulder. You especially want to make sure that you include that in your treatment plan.